did a nice, I did a long video on TRVL on Sunday, and I cut it into another video. I called it D-Travel and TRVL, my 65K crypto booking journey. That wasn't it. It was it. Was it? This was it. Why TRVL token is primed to explode, my 65K journey with D-Travel and price predictions. And then I made a cut of that video yesterday and I put it on YouTube. And I've also, if you go to my X page, what I've actually done is I've created a subbed video from that 15-minute cut. This is basically fundamentals. And so I'm just trying to do more of these. If you have seen it, then thank you. And if you haven't, then go and have a look. You can watch on YouTube, or you can go onto my X page and it's just there with the subs. If you like it and share it or post it, that would be really appreciated. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to focus a lot more on the fundamentals, not just the technicals, okay? Because I want people to understand D-Travel. I want people to understand TRVL. And I want people to see what I see, which is the future. Now, I often see the future in squiggly lines on the black screen, but there's different variations of the future that we can see and we can look at, and one of them is the fundamentals, and that's why I'm kind of focusing on the fundamentals a lot more than before. Let me just put this into a group, so hide it now. Okay, just get rid of this. I probably should clean up my charts, but I'm going to have a short session today. I'm just going to quickly have a look at TRVL. So remember what I've been saying about TRVL? I've been talking about this WXY correction. Do I have it here even? I don't know. Got a lot of old analysis here. This is the MEXC chart. I'm sure I had it on this chart. Yeah, it's something like that. I've got this idea of a WXY correction. And so I'm just going to kind of look at that idea a little bit more in depth. But really the thing that I wanted to look at was this chart, which is the TRVL BTC chart. Now, this isn't a classic TRVL BTC. This is TRVL minus KuCoin, because I wanted to see the launch data. So minus KuCoin against BTC times 3 multiplied by an imaginary figure, just to get some numbers here, so we get some ratios. This doesn't give you an actual volume between BTC and TRVL, but it does tell you where the volume is in terms of price. So it's quite an interesting chart, and I kind of wanted to have a look at this again. I've looked at this before. I wanted to have a look at it again. I'm just going to kind of update it a little bit. Effectively, what I've got is a WXY here. It's a very steep WXY. You see that? It's very similar to the USD chart. And what I'm going to do, and so I've got this fib pool. This fib pool is from I don't know why I have it from the top there. It's not the all-time high. That's the all-time high. It's always tricky with fib pools because sometimes you have expanding data on, especially on these price launches, and it changes the fibs, and it's like it's almost like guesswork which is correct. I'll take it to the all-time high though. And then let me just update the volume again using the daily chart. So here, this is against BTC. You can see the point of, we're above the point of control here. value area lows down there, and we've got the value area high. It's kind of fallen down to the 382 area there. And I'm still following this idea of a WXY. I hide it now. And this fib pull is from the all-time high, which I've calculated based off the USD chart on MEXC. It's $1.56. I just kind of match them up. So I'm just ignoring that initial launch wick. And here what you see is a few things. We're above the point of control on the USD chart and this chart, this BTC chart. So I think that's a good sign. That means that most of the volume that's been put in has been put in under these prices. And when you compare it to the volume that we had before, and so this is the thing, in the past we were looking at it, we're thinking, oh yeah, look, this volume is great, look at this volume, it's great, but actually it wasn't. And now actually what we're putting in is volume, is real volume, real accumulation happening at these prices. And so I think that's a really good sign. And also naturally what you can see are these fibs. You can see that this value area high and this 382 are lined up quite nicely. So potentially we're looking at that as our target, but that changes things a little bit because you have, what do you have? Why have I got this line outside? I don't know why I've got that. Let me just take it to the all-time high there. Let me just line it up correctly. This line is a bit messy. It's like, how do you draw these points? Which points do you use? Because it's quite wicky. There's a lot of wicks. Do you take the first one there? Do you take the second one there? Do you take this one? It's a bit tricky, isn't it? So I'm kind of going to ignore it. Maybe I'm going to zoom out to a slightly higher time frame and get rid of this now because we have the levels. And when it comes to bullish market structure here, we also need to change bullish market structure on the BTC chart. That was your low. This is your low high. That was your all-time low. We haven't actually taken out the high for a higher high yet. So it's interesting because on the USD chart, we've actually confirmed the market structure to bullish, but on the BTC chart, we haven't. And actually what we want is we want this chart to become bullish. Yeah, it is bullish in the sense that we're above the point of control and we're putting a shit ton of volume. You see, last week, we put in the most volume in the whole history of this token against BTC. You see that? And it was a green volume. Okay. So in the past, when we put that volume, we got this crazy selling tail and a swing failure. Whereas now we haven't got that. We've got a really nice buy up. And it goes back to 4 weeks ago when you've got this red volume. You see it's got really high red volume and the price really didn't move. And that's when I said it was bullish. So I think this is actually looking quite bullish. We haven't actually confirmed a market structure change yet here on BTC, and I think that's what we want to see. But it's quite interesting because you can see how the price action here looks like it's trying to bottom. What we had before here was quite interesting. It was again, it's tricky, isn't it? Because these wicks are quite annoying. But we had a breakdown, didn't we? We had a little breakdown, bam, 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 shh, of this kind of historic trend line. And we kind of have to flip that back into support. So we are going to have to go up and test that. We are going to go and have to flip that. We are going to have to go up and recapture the 236. And then in this context, the value area high is your target. Just because we're in the value area, we're above the point of control. That's your target zone, which is also confluence with the 382. That unfortunately will still look bearish because if you go down, you go up to the 382 and top out there, you're still putting in lower highs against BTC. It would look really bullish because you get a really nice pump against BTC of 480%, and you'd be breaking through this back above this historic trend line, which we lost. That would be nice. getting back above the 236, that would be nice, but potentially also still putting in a lower high. And we have to be aware of that. So we haven't really put in a V-shaped recovery here. And a V-shaped recovery would be to take out this high. It would be bam, 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 bam. Take out that high. That would be really nice. And if we were able to do that, go up to the 50 fib, then from the low here to the high there, then potentially a 50 fib retrace would be the 236. And that would possibly be nice to see. So this chart is still kind of, you can see the momentum is strong to the downside. The next big rally is going to be one to sell into. And obviously what we want to try and do is try and see how far it goes. Naturally, I think the target will be the value area high, which coincides with the 382. But the most bullish scenario in this case would be to take out that pivot high, which was the November 24, December 24 pivot high, and hit the 50 fib for a V shape. That's what we want to see. Okay, so we're kind of making some strides now. It's quite interesting to monitor and to watch. When I look at the TRVL daily chart now, it's tricky because we had this kind of bullish engulfing and then we lost it. We took out the low, but we're putting a slightly higher low now. Now we're getting a buy up. We're getting some decreasing volume. That's actually what we want to see, decreasing volume here. So it does potentially look like we are still forming the right shoulder of this inverse head and shoulders. It does still look like it. Yeah. Now, I don't know why I said go down to there. I can't remember why, but I'm not really fussed. As long as ideally what we don't want to do is lose this level here, which is what I was talking. We don't want to come all the way down here. That would look really bearish. That would look bearish. And then the next pump would be a sell-off. So I was thinking this trend line to hold, but it would be more bullish to just kind of not even go down there. And what we want to see is a clean break of the neckline. And I've got it as a flat neckline at the moment. That's what we want to see to go up. If we do get that break, we're going to pump. Yeah, we'll pump and we'll probably head to 3.1, 3.2 cents. The reason why is because it's a measured move of this head and shoulders pattern, but also the reason why is that I'm looking at the Bollinger Bands. I'm looking at the monthly time frame. And I'm seeing that the midpoint is at about 3.1 cents. And so I do expect that midpoint to react. In previous months, you've seen how it's gone through the midpoint all the way up to the top of the Bollinger Band, and that would take us to, I mean, who knows? You know, shit happens. You know, crazy things happen in crypto. It took an extra month to do that. The first month it hit, you see that, and the second month it went up. So it'd be interesting to see how we hit, and then if the next month goes up and does exactly the same thing, I'd be interested to see how that plays out. But I am looking at everything, and the reality is for a token like TRVL, if we want to go up and have a crazy rally to the upside, we have to flip this midpoint into support, and then we have a chance to push. And we've never been able to do that. Every time the prices come back to this monthly midpoint, we've had a clean loss. With here we had a back test. Here we didn't even have a back test, so we haven't even back tested this midpoint. And you see on the weekly time frame, we've back tested the weekly midpoint as support. You see that? 2 weeks in a row we've held it as support. So this is quite good. As long as we hold this weekly midpoint as support, it looks good for the price to continue to go up, kind of similar to what we've experienced in the past. For me, this looks better than the past, because in the past, what you're looking at is the price never really, you see here, it never really back tested it properly. It kind of floated above it, never really back tested it, and then it did back test it to lose it. Okay, and then here we had a back test here, but it kind of wicked through it quite heavily. And here you see it's actually being respected. So we have a very different situation here with the weekly midpoint of the Bollinger Band. It looks a lot stronger for me right now. The price action looks quite strong at these levels. And naturally what we want to see is a breakout, a high volume breakout to the upside. You're looking at the monthly candle. That's definitely going to be a green candle now, I think. I can't imagine it to be red. That was, for me, that's a bullish reversal. You've got a piercing candle with another green candle, increasing volume, increasing prices. That's bullish. And so I would argue that our bottom is forming here, at least in the midterm, short to midterm, we have a bottom forming here. And again, it goes back to my original idea. The target for me is 3.1 cents, which is be the midpoint of this Bollinger Band. That would be a really nice target for a keen take profit. And then we have to see what happens on the BTC chart, on the USD chart, and where we're going to find support, because then we'll probably get a pullback for support. And we have to see how these coincide as well. So here you see on the BTC chart against TRVL, against BTC, we had this bearish engulfing, lows, and look, we're right back above that volume, above that candle right now. So we're basically reversing all of this. And for me, that's looking quite bullish. Increasing prices, increasing volume. Yeah. And usually what happens is that once we get past this green candle here, once we get past it, we've got these red candles and the price should go up quite nicely until it starts hitting more green candles here. The first area of kind of big resistance will be there. And so that's kind of what I'm imagining. And it is possible, and this is the thing, it is possible to form an inverse head and shoulders. I can see it. Depending on how high we get on this push up, it is possible to form some kind of inverse head and shoulders pattern here on a higher time frame. And if that was to form on BTC, then we're laughing. We're all laughing. So I don't know if that's helped. Again, I'm just making a little short video today. We had this kind of sell-off, consolidation, and the price has gone up again. So we can see that there's buying. You can see that there's interest. You can see that there's buying. Here, when we had the sell-off, we actually put in a higher low. So we can see that the selling isn't really taking it down enough. And it just, I don't know, it just feels like we're still bullish. I'm not really fond of yesterday's red candle. Today, if we don't get a strong green candle, if it goes up halfway, then this whole structure could start to look bearish. It is possible. And so what matters now is how we close today. We really need to close above 50% above the body for another piercing candle. And we have to see how that forms. I'm not going to stream again until Friday. I'll do another stream on Friday. That's in 3 days' time. But let's see what happens. Let's see if this plays out the way I imagine. And if not, then we'll just have to see how it plays out. Let me have a look at this again. Yeah, I mean, it could come down lower. Did I do the volume? I can't remember. Let me do it again. Yeah, that's why I said it'll come back down to the value area high and flip this value area into support would be amazing. It's kind of why I said that. And to find support off this trend line, that would be amazing too. To see that would be amazing. Are we in our next wave? Yeah, I think it's possible. Huh? I think it's possible we've waved. 1, 2, 3. So we just have to monitor that and see how that plays out. That was your wave 1. That was your another one. 1, 2, 1, 2. And actually, that was your first impulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the wave 3 that we're looking at in total. That was your wave 1. This is the wave 3. Wave 3s are usually more kind of, they're longer, they're more structured, and they look like multiple waves. And so the wave 1s are just like fast waves, bam, which we had. Put in a higher low and we started to impulse again. So I would say this is a wave 3, a 1, 2, and then maybe we're in another 1, 2. rather than, and the reason why is because you have to follow the rules, and it came underneath the top of this one. So that's why this can't be the blue 5. It's 1 2, and then you have a 1 2, possibly for a 3 4 5 to finish 3 for a 4 and then a 5. Okay, and so kind of have to see how that plays out. But I can see that there's some impulsive buying here, and that's kind of what you want to see. All right, so another update on Friday. Until then, just keep on buying the dips. Yeah, so you see red candles, just buy. And if you want to take profit on the green candles. You can skim profit on green candles. You can buy into the red candles. That's a really easy strategy for accumulating and for buying and selling TRVL. We've our 3-day candle close. Look at that close. I say that's quite bullish. It's quite high volume, and the price barely moved in 3 days. So I would argue that's quite bullish. We have to see what happens next. Okay, see what happens next. All right, so I hope you had a good stream, and then I'll see you guys on Friday. Take care.